Really, you're going to get back on both visually and thought. Okay, so can you tell me what you're doing and how you're doing it? Okay, so I just wanted to document that as this unit, it's pretty trippy. There's a lot of things in play. So I'm in the infrastructure. I'm wearing my infrastructure uniform. And so that means that at some point, the avatar wakes up and goes, do you have your truth and you're all good and you're not in any transition phase? And you go, what? And the infrastructure takes you. So whatever you believe to be true at that moment, you would have to, well, you're done because time has taken you. So that also means you could wake up from that. You wake up and you're like, where am I? You're like, you're a human. You're like, okay, that's good. Well, what am I doing now? Well, the good news is you're awake. The bad news is a previous entity, a previous shell that you now inhibit has said, I will go further. However, everything's in play. And you're like, yeah, that's probably true. Because if you wake up in yellow and you're like, okay, this is how much yellow I have. This is a pen. It's very thick and it's fully yellow. And people go, Jesus Christ. And I say, thank you. That's I do have some followers. And then you're like, are you Jesus Christ? And you're like, nope, I'm CJ. And you're like, CJ. I go, yep. I'm the archetype of there's my picture. Well, that's me. I have my own triangle. I'm good and not good because everything is in play. So if there's ever a triangle and it's yellow, that's me. Everything, I've put everything in there that represents yellow, including personality. Currently, I'm even thinking personality comes out of yellow, but I haven't got that far yet. So what I'm thinking as I'm documenting this, because the current avatar has no clue, that 9 personalities is like really important. And you're like, why would that be? Why would that be? Well, because all you're doing is archetypes. So, and if you already know a concept of a personality type, and so really though, it doesn't matter how many, because I've already grouped, there's groupings, because a color. So you're think about a color. So first of all, you'd have to see it. So it's on the spectrum. So the spectrum would then be a clue in itself. Okay. So, but again, so yellow, if you're in yellow, that means everything's in play. That means everything that's ever been thought has to be thought again. You have to think again. You're like, what? Yeah, you have to think again because everything's in play, but now everything is in play. And you're like, what? Yeah, so that's the first mind fuck. However, if you're in yellow, everything's in place. So this avatar, Kenny, so basically he's in the infrastructure stage, which means if you're asking, you don't need to ask. You're in yellow. So if you're in infrastructure and you're actually dealing in infrastructure, that means you have every rule in play, of which you can also use if you're smart. So, but you have to have a patterning system. And because you're an infrastructure, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to communicate with other because there wouldn't be a pattern in place. That's, I mean, this mind just went like da 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 da, and because you have to go into Bayesian. Bayesian is all, but you're just dealing in truths. That's it. So it's true. So, and if you're in yellow, it doesn't matter. So all I have to do is listen and see if your truth is also coincides with my truth. But my truth is so complicated and simplistic that it should automatically fit. And so since I'm still tinkering and I'm going against the grain, hey, I could be my father as gravity. And I'm like, nope, my father's going to be left at JC to really understand one of the 8 archetypes. If he goes with JC, or if he goes with JC, JC must understand that he once was CJ, and CJ must accept that or not. And does it matter to you if that's true? I'm like, no, that makes sense. So, because at some point, the archetype or the individual, as he identifies, as human. So as soon as you go, I'm human, you're like, oh, thank you. Because that's limiting in so many ways, because all that is like, are you bio or non-bio? So that's the first question, is like, are there more than one of you? And if you go, no, there's just one, you go, okay, there's the nons over there, and they will tell you how beautiful it is to be part of infrastructure. And you're like, okay, I thought I was going to the way station. You're like, no, you're one of the lucky ones. You get to go with the nons. And then the other guys are like, hey, did you hear that? Is that good or bad? And see, those are green biofolk humans. So if you think about it, human construct. So first of all, if you go too far out and you have no human in you, no bio in you, you would have to explain that just to make sense, to have your tea. This is just my truth, me. So the good news is that it's so complicated and logical that anyone else can use it. It's open source. Oh, because that's the way I want it. Okay, so this is why, well, you're teaching you, but you're also teaching others where they could go, oh, so he just is giving me another, you're an infrastructure, dude, just use it. Because then you get to build. So if I'm at the core of infrastructure, that means, you're just here. Hey, are you in the sector? Do you have a story? And you're like, yep. And they're like, and then they may ask you what your story is or not. See, the humans won't. Why? Because they're still human, and then they have to figure that out to them. Now, if they listen to you, you'll be like, hey, do you want to continue? So this is the other funny thing. It's like, hey, do you want to continue? Like, again, you're going to die as a human. It's not even up for discussion in this sector. Okay, so yes, you want to continue? You sure? And then they go, you can come into this sector. That's where you are. That's it. And they're like, wait, I wanted to continue, but I'm in this sector. You're like, hey, man, we play, everything's in play, especially plants. We did not go fungi. You can thank me later. Okay, so all that is I bet you, well, I don't really know. If I had the mind of a fungi, I'm just telling you that fungi is in play, and I go, hey man, good for you. And I don't want to go there. I'm trying to, again, has he said this before? What are you doing? I'm immersed in a 3-dimensional map, because that's my exit strategy. That's my bio exit. You're like, oh, fuck me. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what? Yeah, because you're going to wake up at some point, because you have to get out of the humanness. Now, I've got out of the humanness. So I have an exit. Do you have a bio exit? Yes, I'm good. You're like, really? Yeah. So that's like step number 1. Yeah, I'm good. Well, you're going to die. I'm like, yeah, I've got a patterning system that's going to get me through. And you're like, great. And then you arrive and you're like, huh. Because it's coming. 100%.